11 brands, one list. And before we start, let's kill the title, because the title isn't quite honest. Brands don't break down. Engines break down. Gearboxes break down. A badge on a bonnet has never failed an MOT in its life, and there isn't a factory anywhere that only builds rubbish. So here's the one thing to hold on to for the whole video, and it decides everything else. Brands don't fail. Specific engines and gearboxes fail, and somebody's already written the list. Every car coming up has a fault, documented years before you'd walk onto a forecourt, not a rumour. Documented in trade bulletins, warranty schemes and national surveys, sat there in public and free to read, while somebody signs the paperwork in the room next door. 2 cars here wear the same badge, and one of them's fine. Same showroom, same year, different engine. That's the whole game. And the 3 biggest bills coming up aren't repairs at all. One's a belt that lives in the oil, one's road tax, and one's an insurance quote for a car that hasn't moved off the drive. Stay with me, because number 1 isn't the least reliable motor here. Not close. Right, I'm Terry Halloran, and this is British Vehicles. No manufacturer pays us a penny, no press cars, and we don't sell cars. Everything here comes from published data, and we'll tell you which is which. Do me a favour before we start. Hit subscribe. It's free and it costs you nothing, and this is the sort of thing that stops a mate signing for something daft on a Saturday morning. Where this comes from: DVSA recall notices and MOT data on gov.uk. The What Car Reliability Survey, the Honest John Satisfaction Index, which, warranty-wise, Parker's an auto car for the market side, and manufacturer statements where they exist, because there's a big one coming that most owners have never heard about, and the holes so you know them before you trust a word. There's no British database of unsold stock sat on forecourts. That's an American number, and anybody quoting stock days for Britain has made it up. Repair prices here are ranges from independents, not a national tariff. And a common fault doesn't mean yours will get it. Plenty of these engines do 200,000 miles. We're pricing risk, not predicting your car. Number 11. Volvo. Fair first. Volvo builds a genuinely good car. The XC60 and XC90 hold their money, and the independent specialist network here is one of the better ones. Here's what catches owners. The 4-cylinder Drive E engines in nearly everything from about 2015 run a rubber timing belt, not a chain. And it's an interference engine, so if it skips a tooth, the pistons hit the valves, and you're buying an engine, not a belt. The mechanism is time, not miles. Rubber ages whether you drive the car or not. It hardens and loses grip on the teeth, so the low-mileage retirement car, 50,000 on it and a full history, is exactly the one nobody changes the belt on, because the mileage looks fine. There's no symptom. That's the point. Quiet right up until it isn't. Budget 4 figures for belt, tensioner and water pump together. Several thousand if you leave it. And a T8 listed over 40 grand carries the expensive car supplement, so 640 a year in years 2 to 6 on list price, not what you paid. Verdict: Good car, diary date, nobody wrote down. That's the rule gently. It isn't Volvo. It's a belt on a car everyone assumes has a chain. Number 10. Nissan. Built in Sunderland, and the Qashqai earned its sales. The 1.5 diesel, looked after, is a decent old thing. The problems, the 1.2 DIGT petrol, the turbo triple in Qashqais and Dukes from around 2014. It's a chain, which sounds like good news. Here's why it isn't. That chain lives in the oil, and the tensioner keeping it tight is hydraulic. It needs oil pressure. These engines are known for using oil between services, and most people never check because modern cars trained us not to. Level drops, pressure at the tensioner drops with it, slack develops, the plastic guides wear, and one cold morning the chain jumps a tooth. Interference engine. You know the noise. First start on a damp morning, a rattle like a bag of nails for a second or two, then it clears and you forget it. Owners describe hearing that for months. Chain, guides and tensioner is around 1,000 to 1,100 at an independent if it hasn't already jumped. If it has, the bill beats the car. And what car? Put a number on it. The petrol. Duke was the survey's worst for expensive faults, with 60% of reported faults costing over £1,500 each and only 30% put right free. Verdict: check the oil every fortnight and you've beaten most of this. That's the rule. It isn't Nissan, it's one engine and a dipstick nobody pulled. Number 9. Jeep. Fair play first. A Wrangler on a green lane is the real thing, and nothing else here does that job. For everything else, look at where Jeep sits. Bottom 10 of at least one major UK reliability survey. And the Renegade and Compass aren't rugged Americana. They're Fiat platform hatchbacks in walking boots, sharing switchgear and engines with cars costing a lot less. But the thing that hurts you isn't a part, it's the network. Jeep sells small numbers here, and a small network means a longer wait for a diagnostic slot, fewer independents who've seen your fault before, and no courtesy car. A fault that costs a Ford owner a Tuesday costs a Jeep owner a fortnight. So do this before you sign. Count the franchise dealers within an hour of your house. Not in the country, near you. That number is your repair time, and nobody in the showroom will bring it up. Verdict: buy one for what it does off-road, never for what it does on a Monday morning. That's the rule again. It isn't the badge, it's the postcode you'll be waiting in. Number 8. Ford. This is where the mechanism matters most, so stay with me. The 1.0 EcoBoost, the 3-cylinder in the Fiesta, Focus, C-Max and EcoSport runs a wet belt, a rubber timing belt inside the engine submerged in the oil, done to cut noise and friction, and on paper it's clever. Here's what actually happens. That belt doesn't just drive the camshafts, it drives the oil pump. As it ages, it doesn't snap first, it sheds. Bits of rubber come off and go where the oil goes, and the oil goes to the pickup screen in the sump. The screen blocks, pressure falls, the first thing you know is a light on the dash, and by then the damage is done inside. Ford originally quoted 150,000 miles or 10 years, then issued advice for a precautionary change at 100,000. Owners have had failures well short of that with full history, and the BBC's consumer programme has covered it for years. Preventative replacement at a decent independent is roughly £900 to £1,200. A main dealer, well north of that. Leave it and a failure typically writes the engine off, so 4,000 to 8,000 in a car worth 5. Concession, and it matters. Later. Fiestas, Focuses and Pumas move to a chain on the same 1.0, same litre, same badge, completely different risk. A VIN check tells you which, and it's free. Verdict. That's the rule, hardest version yet. It isn't Ford, it's a belt in the oil. Number 7. Citroen, and this covers DS, Peugeot and Vauxhall because it's the same engine. The PureTech 1.0 and 1.2 across the C3, C4, 208, 308, 2008, 3008, Corsa and Mocha. Wet belt again, same physics as the Ford. Belt in the oil, belt drives the oil pump, belt degrades, debris circulates, oil consumption climbs, engine dies. The Honest John Satisfaction Index shows how that lands. Readers scored the Vauxhall Corsa the least reliable car in the survey, the Mocha third worst, and the 3 lowest brand positions overall all went to Stellantis Marquez. But here's the part worth actual money, and it's why this sits above Ford and not below. Stellantis put its name to the problem. There's an extended warranty covering 100% of parts and labour on previous generation PureTech 1.0 and 1.2 engines, up to 10 years or 112,000 miles, subject to conditions. And a compensation portal now open to UK vehicles for money already spent on excessive oil consumption or premature belt failure between January 2022 and December 2024. The conditions are strict. Servicing must have followed the manufacturer's schedule, and diagnosis and repair must have gone through the authorised network. Plenty won't qualify. But if you've paid for one of these, go and look, because nobody's going to ring and offer it. And check the generation, the newer 1.2, the 48-volt hybrid from 2023 went back to a chain. Verdict. That's the rule with a bonus. It isn't the brand, it's the engine, and this one's got paperwork attached. Number 6. Volkswagen. The engines mostly aren't the problem. The gearbox is. The 7-speed dry-clutch DSG, the DQ200, across Golfs, Polos, and plenty of Audi, Skoda, and Seat models. Dry is the word, doing the damage. A wet clutch box has oil carrying heat away from the clutch packs. A dry one hasn't. In stop-start traffic, which is most British driving, that heat goes into the mechatronic unit, the electro-hydraulic brain controlling clutch pressure and gear selection. Solenoids and valve bodies don't like being cooked. The symptom is a shudder, pulling away from a standstill, or a hesitation when you ask for gear at a roundabout, then jerky low-speed shifts, then a warning light. Owners describe living with the shudder for a year first. A mechatronic repair or replacement runs $800 to $2,500, and the wet clutch boxes have a fluid and filter interval, usually around 40,000 miles. Anybody telling you it's sealed for life is telling you about their labour rate, not your gearbox. Concession. A manual Volkswagen with a maintained diesel is a proper long-haul motor and always has been. Verdict. Buy the gearbox, not the car. That's the rule. It isn't Volkswagen. It's 2 pedals instead of 3. Right. Quick favour before the top 3. If this is any use to you, give the like button a tap. Takes a second, costs you nothing, and it shoves this in front of somebody about to sign for the wrong motor this weekend. Cheers. Number 5. Audi, the 2.0T FSI EA 888 first and second generation, roughly 2008 to 2013, in the A4, A5, A6, Q5 and TT. 2 faults, and they feed each other. First, oil consumption. The piston rings on those early engines let oil past into the combustion chamber. Some owners report a litre gone in 1,000 miles. Second, the chain tensioner. And here's where the two meet, because the tensioner needs oil pressure and the engine's busy burning the oil. On a cold start, before pressure builds, a worn tensioner lets the chain go slack. Slack chain jumps a tooth. Interference engine. Done. Now the cruel bit. That tensioner sits at the back of the block against the gearbox. So a job that's a couple of £100 in parts is £1,200 to £2,000 at an independent, purely because of what has to come out to reach it, and more again at a dealer. Symptom: a rattle for a second or two on a cold start, and a dipstick down between services. If a seller's got a fresh top-up bottle in the boot, ask why. Concession: a real one. Later, EA888 engines got revised pistons and an updated tensioner. A post-2013 car with documented oil checks is a different proposition entirely. Verdict: that's the rule. It isn't Audi, it's a build date. Number 4. Mercedes-Benz. Reputation says over-engineered German tank. The honest John Satisfaction Index says otherwise. Both the A-Class and the previous C-Class landed in the bottom 10 for reliability, which for this badge is the one that stings. The mechanism isn't a single engine, it's what complexity does to a bill once the warranty's gone. 2 examples. The 7G Tronic Automatic has a fluid and filter interval, and it needs it on time. Sold as low maintenance, understood by owners as no maintenance, and there's a difference. Skip it and you're into valve body and conductor plate territory, which is 4 figures, and the air suspension on the bigger cars. Rubber bags, a compressor, height sensors. The bags perish, the car sags overnight, and the compressor runs itself to death trying to hold it up. So a perished bag you ignored becomes a bag and a compressor. Money on top. Anything listed over 40,000 carries the supplement, so $640 a year in years 2 to 6 on the list price when new. Concession: a well-kept E-Class still does enormous mileage in comfort, and there's a reason the minicab trade never left them. Verdict: fine car, expensive to neglect, and neglect is what the second owner inherits. That's the rule. It isn't Mercedes, it's a service book with a gap in it. Right. Top 2. If you've stuck with me this far, do me a favor and subscribe before I get to number 1, because number 1 is the one nobody sees coming. Number 3, BMW, the N47. The 2-litre diesel in the 118D, 120D, 318D, 320D and 520D from roughly 2007 to 2014, and it's the most talked about engine in Britain for one reason. The timing chain is at the back of the engine behind the flywheel, not the front where everyone else puts it. The back against the gearbox. Here's why it goes. The original chain was on the light side for the loads. BMW's long life servicing allowed up to 15,000 miles between oil changes, which is a long time for a chain, depending on clean oil at the tensioner. And stop-start town driving cycles that chain far more times per mile than a motorway run. So the guides wear, the tensioner can't take up the slack, and the timing drifts before the chain has visibly stretched at all. The symptom is a metallic rattle on a cold start that fades after 10 or 20 seconds, or a whirring from the bulkhead end of the bay. Now the money. Preventative replacement is $1,500 to $2,500 at a specialist, because on cars from before 2011, the gearbox comes out to reach it. If it snaps, valves meet pistons, and you're at $4,000 to $6,000 for a replacement engine in a car worth $3,000. There's no UK recall for the chain. BMW issued a service bulletin to dealers, which is guidance, not free repairs. There is a separate DVSA recall on N47 and B47 EGR coolers for fire risk, so put your registration into the gov.uk recall checker anyway. Costs nothing. Concession. The 320D is one of the best motorway cars at the money, and the 6-cylinder N57 uses the same layout with a better record. No chain receipt in the folder means that car has $1,500 to $2,500 owing on it. Say it out loud to the seller. Verdict. That's the rule plainly. It isn't BMW, it's where they put the chain. Number 2, Jaguar. First, killer myth because it costs people money. You'll hear Jaguar parts are impossible to get. They're not. Jaguar shares a huge amount with Land Rover, and Land Rover sells in volume. Parts availability isn't your problem, and anyone telling you it is hasn't looked. The problem's the ingenium. The 2-litre diesel from 2015 in the XE, XF and F-Pace. Timing chain at the rear of the engine again, so the gearbox comes off to do it. Mechanism. That chain runs in oil, which is the whole design, and it's why it ought to outlast a belt. When it goes early, it's almost never the chain. It's the oil. Short journeys dilute it with fuel, long intervals age it, and low is worse than either. Guides where the tensioner gives up and it turns into a rattle on the first cold start of the day, commonly reported between 60 and 80,000 miles. Interference engine, so a jumped chain is an engine. No UK recall, and the labour is what hurts, exactly as with the BMW. And a word on the network, carefully. Jaguar stopped selling most of its range on purpose during its relaunch. That was a decision, not a collapse. But the effect on you is the same either way. The network you'd rely on for a 10-year-old car is being reshaped around a brand that isn't currently selling many new ones. Concession: residuals fall hard, and if you're buying rather than selling, that's the appeal. An XF is an enormous amount of car for the money, and it drives beautifully. Verdict: buy it cheap, service it at an independent, change the oil early and often. That's the rule. It isn't Jaguar. It's an oil interval on a chain nobody can reach. Number 1. Land Rover. Honest part first, properly. Land Rover has got better. In the What Car Reliability Survey, the brand cleared 90% for the first time, and the newer Range Rover badged cars perform considerably better than they used to. Most of the complaints in the Honest John Index landed on the Discovery Sport, the oldest model in the range. Air suspension leaks, electrical gremlins, infotainment faults. None of that's news. So why number 1? Because on this car, reliability isn't the bill. That's the payoff I promised you at the start. 4 things stack up, and not one of them is a fault. Theft first. Land Rover is one of the most stolen brands in Britain. What Car's Stolen Car reporting for 2025 had Land Rover 5th as a brand, around 3,690 vehicles, with the Evoque inside the top 20 models. JLR itself put £1 million into supporting police forces and port security. These aren't joyriders, stolen to order, for export or for parts. Insurance follows theft because insurers price claims, not opinions. Range Rovers sit in insurance groups in the 40s right up to 50. Owners in high-risk London postcodes have been quoted into the thousands, and one widely reported case in 2024 hit £38,000 for the year. That's an extreme, and it isn't typical, and I'd rather say so than pretend otherwise. But the direction's real, and it's why Land Rover started offering a contribution towards insurance on some new cars. Repairs third. A cracked front bumper on an ordinary hatchback might be £400. The same damage on a Range Rover Autobiography can be £2,500 or more because of the panel, the sensors behind it, and the calibration afterwards. And tax. Anything listed over 40 grand pays the £200 standard rate plus the £440 supplement. £640 a year in years 2 to 6 on the list price when new, not what you paid. An older V8 in the top pre-2017 band is around £735 a year on its own, before you've insured it or filled it. So here's the mechanism of the money. Nothing has to go wrong. The car can be flawless. Its running cost is being set by what a criminal will pay for it in a container and what a body shop charges to put a panel back on, and neither of those is in the handbook. Verdict. The cheapest Range Rover on the classifieds is never the cheapest Range Rover. That's the rule with the lid off. It isn't the brand, and this time it isn't even the engine. Right, the recap, one line each. Volvo, a rubber belt on a car everyone assumes has a chain. Nissan, the 1.2 dig T burns oil and the chain tensioner pays for it. Jeep, capable off-road and a network that decides how long you wait. Ford, the wet belt drives the oil pump and it sheds before it snaps. Citroen and the rest of Stellantis, same belt. But there's a warranty extension and a compensation portal. Volkswagen, the dry clutch DSG, cooks its own mechatronic unit in traffic. Audi, oil consumption and a chain tensioner behind the gearbox. Mercedes, gearbox fluid and air suspension and parts prices that punish a skipped service. BMW, the chain's at the back and the gearbox comes out to reach it. Jaguar, same story, and the fix is early oil. Land Rover, where the car can be perfect and the postcode still writes the invoice. Honest takeaway, and this bit costs money to say. If your driving is 3 miles to the shops and 3 back, every wet belt and every chain in oil engine, here is worse for you, not better. Short journeys never get the oil hot, fuel dilutes it, and the belt and the tensioner both die of it. That rules out most of this video for a lot of people, and I'd rather tell you than sell you a countdown. 4 things to do this week, all free. 1. Put the registration into the gov.uk vehicle tax checker before you look at anything else. A £2,000 car with a £735 annual bill is not a cheap car. 2. Put the same registration into the TfL checker and your local council's clean air zone checker. Don't assume and don't take a seller's word for it. 3. Put it into the DVSA recall checker. Open recalls are fixed free and most people never look. 4. On any car here, ask what turns the camshafts and ask for the receipt. Belt or chain, wet or dry, and when. Now, what have you got? How many miles is it on? And what's the last big bill it landed you with? Put the actual figure in the comments, because that's worth more to the next person than any survey. And if something here's wrong, say so and show you're working. It gets read. There's a card up on screen now with another one of these. Have a look, it's worth your time. Buy with your head, not the badge. This video is based on publicly available recall notices, MOT test data, safety ratings, reliability surveys, and independent review evidence current at time of publication. Individual vehicle outcomes vary. Some models may have had subsequent updates, recalls, or improvements. Always obtain current information and independent advice before making any purchase decision.